On December 22, 1987, Ronald Gene Simmons, a man who appeared to be just another average member of society, committed one of the most chilling acts of violence in American history. Over the course of a single day, Simmons killed 16 people, including his wife, children, and even grandchildren. What drove this seemingly ordinary man to become a family annihilator and take so many lives in cold blood? This is the shocking story of Ronald Gene Simmons and his horrific killing spree. Ronald Gene Simmons had always been known as a reserved, quiet man. His life, on the surface, appeared fairly typical, though there were warning signs of trouble that no one seemed to notice. Born in 1940, Simmons joined the U.S. Air Force in the 1950s and later married his high school sweetheart, Becky. Together, they had several children. The family lived a quiet life in a small house in Arkansas. To the outside world, Simmons was a loving father and husband. His dark side. Beneath this facade, however, Simmons struggled with deep issues. His time in the military had left him with a volatile temper, and rumors swirled about abusive behavior toward his wife and children. Despite this, he was never consciously a threat by those who knew him. On December 22, 1987, Ronald Gene Simmons took the lives of 16 people in a single day. His spree began with his immediate family before escalating to extended relatives and even strangers. The first victims, Simmons began by killing his wife, Becky, and their children. He then moved on to his son's family, murdering his daughter-in-law and grandchildren. A calculated killing. After these initial killings, Simmons turned his attention to other family members living in the area. He murdered a niece, a nephew, and a couple who had lived nearby. The total number of people he killed that day was 16, one of the most gruesome family annihilations in American history. The method: Simmons didn't rush through his murders. He was methodical, taking his time and execute each killing. He used caliber rifle to murder most of his victims, and his approach was chillingly deliberate. Ronald Gene Simmons had always been known as a reserved, quiet man. His life, on the surface, appeared fairly typical, though there were warning signs of trouble that no one seemed to notice. Born in 1940, Simmons joined the U.S. Air Force in the 1950s and later married his high school sweetheart, Becky. Together, they had several children. The family lived a quiet life in a small house in Arkansas. To the outside world, Simmons was a loving father and husband. His dark side. Beneath this facade, however, Simmons struggled with deep issues. His time in the military had left him with a volatile temper, and rumors swirled about abusive behavior toward his wife and children. Despite this, he was never considered a threat by those who knew him. The capture. How Simmons was caught after carrying out his killing spree. Simmons calmly drove to a nearby convenience store to buy a drink. His nonchalant demeanor in the aftermath of his horrifying actions was shocking. The tip-off. A neighbor of Simmons grew suspicious when they noticed Simmons' car parked in an unusual spot and alerted the police. The authorities launched a search, and Simmons' family home was discovered to be the crime scene. Simmons' arrest. Ronald Gene Simmons was arrested without incident on December 28, just 6 days after the murders. He did not attempt to flee and offered little resistance to his arrest. The trial and conviction. The trial of Ronald Gene Simmons was one of the most harrowing legal proceedings in American history. His actions were incomprehensible to the public, and many struggled to understand what had driven him to such madness. The defense. During his trial, Simmons pleaded guilty to 16 counts of murder. His defense team did not present any argument of insanity, though Simmons himself stated he was sorry for what he did, showing little emotion. The sentence. Simmons was sentenced to death by lethal injection. His case brought to light the dark truth that someone who seemed so ordinary could carry out such a heinous act. He was executed in 1990. The legacy of Ronald Gene Simmons' crimes. The story of Ronald Gene Simmons serves as a chilling reminder that family annihilators often don't fit the stereotypical image of a killer. Simmons was a man who blended in with society, making his actions all the more terrifying. The ripple effect. His murders had lasting effects on the community and his surviving family members, who were left to cope with the aftermath of such unspeakable violence. The impact. Simmons' case highlights the importance of recognizing the signs of domestic abuse and mental instability before it's too late. While the cause of his violent outburst is not fully understood, his case has become a landmark example of the dangers of unchecked and aimlessly turmoil. The story of Ronald Gene Simmons is a tragic reminder of how family annihilators can often go unnoticed in society until it's too late. His cold-blooded actions on that fateful December day left the world in shock, and his legacy continues to haunt those who remember the victims. If you found this story compelling, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more true crime stories. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.